couple weeks off ahead of a really big Hell is Real match against the Columbus Crew.
Can't wait for that, as always. Communication, though, on and off the field, a huge part of the team's success. Remember, they got players from all over the world, and a new program looks to bridge language barriers for members of the Orange and Blue. And here to talk about a new language learning program for FC Cincinnati players is team CEO Jeff Birding and Jay Allgood from International Language Plus. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
It is such an interesting thing to contemplate because, Jeff, when you guys are out looking for the very best soccer players, you are looking for the best soccer players from all over the world, and that comes with some language issues.
It sure does.
Yeah.
So whether it's players from Central and South America or Europe, Asia, Yuya Kubo, we get these players in, and of course one of the first things we're working on is helping them understand English to be able to communicate with their teammates, their coaches, staff, and of course fans. But we thought, the other part of it though is that we should be learning their language so we can communicate with them and their fans and the media that covers them maybe in their own home countries.
Gosh, you guys are just never cease to amaze me.
Always a new thing.
Always
I love it.
and always keeping up with great stuff like that. Jay, that's where you guys come in, and you're
Yes, ma'am.
teaching them just Spanish right now is kind of what you guys are focusing
That's
on, right?
right.
Could you talk about some of the challenges that maybe, or how you're approaching these classes? Because you do have guys from all over, and there may be different dialects if you're coming from different countries. There may be
Right.
different words,
Right.
for the same thing coming from different countries. How are you approaching
Well,
this? Is this kind of basic Spanish, or?
Basic Spanish, but it's interesting you asked that because our teacher Grisel is from Mexico, and I think early on some of the staff asked her if she could teach them different dialects of Spanish,
Yeah.
and she said, sorry.
Right.
It's like me trying to speak with a British accent, So we focus on standard Spanish, and one of the things that FC Cincinnati asked us to do was to adapt and add soccer terms and, for the trainers, parts of the body so that they can speak to the players about injuries and
Smart.
things like that they need.
And another thing that sort of comes from this too is, Jeff, there is a huge following of fans who speak Spanish, and that's their first language. How important is it to have something like this to be able to connect with? Is it todo por Cincy?
We are committed to growing our fan base, and we know that we have a lot of soccer fans here in the community who don't originate here in the U.S. They come from countries in Central and South America, and they love soccer.
Yeah.
And we want them to be FC Cincinnati fans. And so we have partnered with Lomega. Now all of our games are being broadcast in Spanish,
Wow.
starting with the Leagues Cup, so that they can tune in for every game, get play-by-play analysis, in-depth coverage, post-match interviews in Spanish. And we're doing that because sometimes you have to go where the fans are. And we think it's a great partnership, and we're certainly looking forward to, as we move past Hell is Real, we'll have a big match against LAFC, and that'll be our Noche Latina match, where we have a lot of in-stadium programming. The PA reads in Spanish. We'll have a huge event in Washington Park before the match with all kinds of programming and activities. And it's, again, another way to invite fans, to engage fans in a way that feels more natural to them.
Meet them where they are?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jay, would you be able to teach us a few of the terms? Like, what are just some basic
This
things
was a
that we
bold
should
play, Dalton.
Like,
Okay.
well, like Toto, para, FCC,
You
all
asked
for
the wrong person.
Or Jeff, what have you learned so far? Toto, para, Cincy, all for Cincinnati,
Yes.
or all for FCC. Or I guess when it comes down to the staff there, Jeff, when you kind of, or I don't know who approached who about, like, Jay, if you came to them and said, would you guys like some Spanish lessons? Or if they came and said, we wanted this to be able to communicate better with our team.
I want to give a lot of credit to Nikki Olivo, because she contacted us back in late April and asked us to put together some proposals for the team, and it turned out from 2 groups, 30 people, we now have 3 groups of over 50 people, one at TQL Stadium and the other 2 at the training center in Milford, and it's just worked out great.
That is so neat. It's so progressive of you guys to do that. I mean, not only do you want to be able to communicate with them on the field, but
Right.
to bring your staff so that it can open more doors of relationships probably with
Well,
the
on a
players
personal
too.
level,
Right.
I like to have at least some level of communication so that the players know that as an owner and CEO, we're welcoming to them. We want to make
Yeah.
sure that their family is doing okay as they transition here. And for the players that are just arriving and who still have very limited English skills, there's no way for me to do that other than through a staff translator. And so I wanted the opportunity. Unfortunately, I studied Latin at St. X.
Of course, everybody at St. X has to do that, right?
Russian in college, and so
good for you.
it was a real miss for me. So the opportunity to learn Spanish, at least to have some ability to communicate, is very valuable.
Jeff, I'm going to ask you almost an unfair question before we talk about the season a little bit. Are you a Ted Lasso guy? Because it is very much art
It
imitates
does. I was
life,
gonna
imitates
say it
art.
reminds me of Ted Lasso.
Just I don't know if you've ever watched that series before, just the way that team goes about learning about one another, learning about their languages and their cultures and all of that kind of thing. I feel like that's what this is a little bit, and that's a really cool thing.
Yes, thank you. Lindsay and I are big fans of Ted Lasso.
I had a feeling.
I've been referred to as Carl Lindner's Ted Lasso
Very good.
because of
Very
my,
good.
almost
Your approach,
20 years
yeah.
in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
true.
American football
Football
and
before
moved to soccer.
Yep.
So
Yep. You just
yes.
got to grow the mustache now. That's all we
There
need.
we go.
That's all,
that might be a little hard.
Maybe not. How about the season so far? Obviously, had a little bit of a skid there. Montreal game looked great. Luka with that goal from beyond midfield was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Well, and to do it once is one thing, but now he's done it twice.
yeah,
Yes.
2 from midfield like that. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
I think it's the longest goal in the history of
Free kick,
of Major League Soccer. So listen, the last 2 years we've been amazingly healthy, and we have a great performance staff, but sometimes the odds catch up. And this year has been a little wrecked by injury. Lucho's missed a lot of time. Of course,
Yeah.
Matt Miazga, the Defender of the Year, and Nick Hagelin are out for the season. So, this year's frankly been more challenging that way, and we had a rough stretch there. I think we're coming together here a little bit, as shown the other night against Montreal 4-1. And now we have this big match coming up against Columbus. They're a great team. Obviously, they won the Leagues Cup. They won the MLS Cup last year. So, but we beat them in Columbus a few months ago. So, should be a heck of a match.
Jay, if people want to learn more about what you guys do, and I know are there classes available for the public?
Oh,
that
sure.
people could come
Yeah,
to? Can you
and
talk a
in
little bit
fact,
about that before you let you guys go?
Yeah, what FC Cincinnati asked us to do is not our bread and butter. Most of our classes are one-on-one, and our teachers are all either native speakers or they're fluent, and we offer 8 different foreign languages. The reason I wasn't the right one to talk to about Spanish, I teach English as a second language.
Oh, okay.
And that's about 65% of our students.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's a very rewarding thing, and anybody that needs help with languages, either learning a new language or brushing up on a language you already studied, we can help you.
Love it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out this morning.
Yeah,
Thanks for having
thank
us.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Always good to be with you.
I'm excited about this.
You kicked the goal from midfield. Yep. I'm Jen Dalton.
I'm Bob Herzog. I feel
Okay.
totally comfortable like
Yeah,
this.
well, this feels real good. Our no-show socks. Fat or bad? Bob's
You're
a
welcome,
pollinator.
Earth.